Live from the KHOU 11 studios, it's Great Day Houston. And now, here's your host, Deborah Duncan.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Great Day Houston. Okay, look, see, it's already starting. All right, it is Friday the 13th. Most people associate that date with bad luck, and there are plenty of fears and superstitions surrounding this day. Some people take it so seriously, they refuse to go travel on this day. And ever notice a lot of elevators skip floor 13? Look in this picture, floor 13 is actually floor 12A. In fact, there's even a name for this condition, frigatriskaidekaphobia. So what's all the fuss about? Mark Anthony, the psychic lawyer, is here today to dispel the fear of Friday the 13th. He's the author of Evidence of Eternity that deals with the fear and superstition surrounding spirit communication as well. Please welcome him to the show this morning. Good morning.
Thank you, Deborah.
Let's get to Friday the 13th because there are some man-made superstitions, and that one came from where?
Frigatriskaidekaphobia, the
yes.
fear of Friday the 13th. That's a mouthful, isn't it? In my research into fear and superstition, it took me back 1,000 years to the time of the Crusades. And without getting into a history lesson, there was a special order of monks during the Crusades known as the Knights Templar. They are a religious military order. They set up the first banking system. It stretched from London to Jerusalem. So when people went off to the Middle East to wage wars, they didn't want to bring money with them, so they would deposit it in a Templar bank, get a certificate, and then redeem it at any Templar facility throughout the Mediterranean world. Well, as the Crusades began to become a military failure, European kings continued to borrow money, which the Templars charged interest, which was one of a very serious sin in the Middle Ages. It was called usury. Long story short, they were financing wars against their fellow Christian kings, and King Philippe IV of France could no longer pay back his loans to the Templars. So he was really, really badly in debt, and he conspired with Pope Clement V. And on Friday, October 13th of 1307, all the Knights Templar were rounded up in Paris, and they were charged with heresy, witchcraft, sodomy, and usury, and as many other charges as both the Vatican and the King of France could fling at them. And most of the Templars, if not all of them, confessed because they were put on the rack. They had their fingernails pulled off. I mean, this was the Middle Ages.
This was not a good time to be around, was it?
No, no. Yeah. I mean, you know, getting a confession in the Middle Ages, not a problem.
Yeah. Okay.
So the Knights Templar, they confessed, and the head of the order, Jacques de Molay, was burned at the stake in front of Notre Dame Cathedral. And the very last thing he said, as the flames were engulfing him, he cried out, "King Philippe and Pope Clement will see me before God." Within a month, Pope Clement dropped dead, presumably of a stroke, and a few months later, King Philippe was killed in a hunting accident. Well, let me tell you, news spread. I mean, gossip this juicy spread throughout France, and people were saying that, oh, Jacques de Molay was definitely an agent of Satan and pronounced an evil spell upon the king and the pope. And then other people said, well, perhaps he was a martyr and rendering the sentence of God upon the king and the pope who conspired against him.
Could be good luck in
Friday the 13th, exactly. And so that's where it started. And within a few years, there's a reference to Friday being a cursed day in the Canterbury Tales.
Okay.
So we do have the evidence linking it through the centuries.
Yeah, all right.